Hello and welcome to our review of Veronica Mars. I'm Paul,
I'm Dave.
and this week we are discussing the episode Un-American Graffiti. This episode originally aired May 1st, 2007. Do I know why they took 2 months off? No, absolutely not. I have no idea. All right, so let us start off with the number one song in America, Dave. Any guesses what it could be? We're into May of 2007, starting to get warmer out. What could it be?
Trying to think with all the particular people at the time. Uh, any sort of title for the song is escaping me, but maybe like uh, songwriter for it, something from Avril Lavigne.
It is Avril Lavigne. It is a song called Girlfriend. Don't ask me. I never listened to her music. But yeah, she had the number one song in 2007, which I was a bit surprised by because I assumed her stuff would have been, like, she would have been more or less done by then. But
Her couple particular things, and no, this is actually one of the ones of like you say the title and it's like, oh, it's that particular song. The one where the name of the song is what they say several times in the song, so it gets stuck in your head like the typical earworm that it is.
okay. Because to me, I'm like, yeah, her career was done in like 2005.
With her first big hit, supposedly.
Yeah, I guess. Like I
Hmm.
said, I was never a fan, so I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, it sort of tracks, I suppose.
moving on to movies. So just we'll quickly recap a couple of things that have happened since the last episode. This
Hopefully,
li-
somewhat better with the other particular one from the last week.
well, slightly. So the week after Wild Hogs, for the next 2 weeks, the number one film was 300, which
Yeah, which was somewhat of a given, because the supposed historical aspect, and then, of course, hot guys, and then, of course, brutal violence.
yeah, that was very successful. It's not a very good movie in my opinion, but whatever.
Eh.
After that was TMNT, which I don't know if you remember. That was an animated Ninja Turtles movie in 2007.
No, that definitely rings a bell, but it's the case of. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure specifically. It's one of the offshoots of the TMNT series that they've kind of been created. And my God, with how many years it's been, they've gone through so many different styles.
Yeah, I feel like this is the one that for some reason you can't get anymore. Like, I feel like the DVD and stuff for this went out of print and it never got reissued.
Supposedly, that's not surprising, but also it wouldn't be. Eh, yeah, I suppose if it kind of went out of print, it would be a little tricky for getting it again. But I don't know. You'd probably be able to find it if you look through the proper channels.
Well, let's do a little experiment here. Let's go to eBay, and I'm just going to look up to see what it's selling for. No, TMNT 2007. I want the DVD, you putz. Okay, it seems to really depend on the seller, but yeah, you can get it for like a reasonable-ish price, it looks like. Okay, I thought for some reason that was one of those ones that was really hard to get your hands on.
Hmm.
Anyway, moving on. Also, that in beginning of April, Blades of Glory was the number one film, which was that um, it's Ben Stiller and no, Will Ferrell and someone else. I don't know who it is, but it's that ice skating comedy movie.
Okay, because the name was supposedly ringing a bell, but it's like, is it the one thing or is it something else entirely?
And following that was a little movie called Disturbia, which is totally not just a remake of Rear Window starring Shia LaBeouf.
Supposedly, I've got nothing. Like, supposedly remember the title and whatnot, but just like, yeah, never saw the movie for obvious reasons.
Okay, if you want to see it, just watch Rear Window. It's far better.
Radios.
And finally, number one film this week, Dave. Any ideas what it could be? It's a sequel to a huge superhero franchise.
Well, with it being the early 2000s, there was kind of like two of those series kind of going on at the time. So if I had to venture a guess, like one of the Spider-Mans, like I wasn't sure if it was precisely three or if it was like at that one section of doing re-release sort of things yet.
No, it's Spider-Man 3, the one that killed the Spider-Man franchise for a while.
It, mm,
It did.
Again, it's one of the cases of I know of the series, but it's only the case of like watching two of the movies very much and possibly watching three, but whether or not it's specifically repressed and or I only know it from little clips and didn't actually watch the whole film. Mm,
Three is the okay. The problem, in my opinion, with three is there is too much going on, and like I know a lot of people are like, emo Peter, and he does the dance. I'm like, I don't really care about that. I just think that it tries to do way too much in its runtime, and it doesn't really do anything very well as a result.
I can somewhat hear that because again, the biggest thing is that it's going through the Venom and black suited Spider-Man arc of things, but it's also supposedly the case of throwing in more story things with Eddie Brock character.
And
The
Sandman's
one
in
other
it, and there's a whole bunch. Yeah, it's yeah. There's too much happening in that movie for it to be good.
hmm,
Alrighty. So, video games. We're going to quickly go through this because there is obviously a lot that was released in this time. So,
2 months.
yes. February 28th, if you had an Xbox with an Xbox Live Arcade connection, you could pick up Alien Hominoid.
Yes, the starting of the particular company that worked on this series of games and their first release.
Yes. What else is important? Excuse me. March 5th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories.
Supposed yay, but again, not exactly sure of the specifics with this one. Just the case of taking place in last the Grand Theft Auto sort of thing with little story bits, or was it just a re-release?
I think it was originally a PSP game that got ported over to the PS2.
Oh, okay, that kind of tracks because they did that with a couple particular series.
Yes, but do you remember what it was like when Grand Theft Auto had more than like one entry every 10 years?
Vaguely, like in my case, I knew about the series but didn't really get into it until the super big one of San Andreas.
See, okay, maybe this is a controversial opinion, but I always preferred Vice City to San Andreas.
Mm.
Although, like, look, they're both incredible games. I just prefer Vice City to San Andreas. All right. Also on March 5th, if you had a Nintendo DS, you could pick up Wario Master of Disguise.
Yes. Again, supposedly decent Wario game with its particular interests and whatnot. Never touched this one.
Okay. March 6th, if you had a PS3 or Xbox 360, you could pick up Def Jam Icon.
Supposed yay.
Did you play any of the Def Jam games?
Like, know of the series, but yeah, I don't think I've never touched them.
Okay. Vendetta and Fight for New York are both very good. I would not bother with this one. But yeah, the first two were fun. March 6th, if you had a PS3, you could pick up this little game called Motorstorm.
Now, this is one of the ones I actually somewhat know about, which is interesting enough for its racing kind of concept, where typical racing game, but you have a multitude of different vehicles that can take different routes as you're racing through things.
Yeah, this was super popular, I think, because it showed off the capabilities of the PS3, which had, like, just come out, and also it was just fun and arcadey. Like you said, like, if you had a different vehicle, you could take different routes, and yeah, it was just, like, a real fun pick-up-and-play kind of game.
Mm.
Yeah, it was good
Mildly
stuff.
surprised that no one bothered to mess too much with the concept much anymore. Like, it's easy enough, but yeah, it just hasn't been bothered with any other racing game that I could specifically think of.
Yeah, they haven't done many of those MotorStorm games. They haven't done one in like more than a decade. You should bring that back,
Oh,
Sony. It could be a good PS5 game.
it would be nice, and hopefully it's not for the stupid reason of some particular person put licensing on it, and the case of, hey, you can't use this unless you pay this specific company who owns the rights to it.
Yeah, I don't know. March
Hmm.
11th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up Ratchet and Clank Size Matters, which was ported over from the PSP.
Which again, understandable, but also the case of probably not one of the best Ratchet and Clank games that you could be playing.
No, but I feel like even the not good Ratchet and Clank games are still pretty good.
Hmm.
March 13th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up God of War 2.
Because it's God of War, with more God of War-ness to it.
Yes, it certainly is. Let's see, what else do we have here? Anything interesting? Not really.
I think the one particular one, quickly double checking with the list of, out of curiosity, do you know what Spectroids is?
I do not.
Well, it's the case of one of the particular companies is like, wow, Pokemon is super popular. Let's try to fight up against them and try our own game with it. And oh boy, they tried. 3 games, but no, it's so much success.
Ah, okay. So it was one of those like wannabe Pokemon things.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Um, April 3rd, if you had a Nintendo DS, you could pick up Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales.
Because that was part of the series, and for the cutesiness and whatnot, it's understandable, but also kind of the case of questioning why you supposedly have those in there, but okay, the company, but yeah.
Also on April 3rd, if you had an Xbox 360, you could pick up Guitar Hero 2.
Yes, when all the things, or I don't know, I suppose just with the other particular games coming at the time, it's just like, hey, other systems out, we got to bring this over.
Yes. April 9th, if you had a Wii, you could pick up Super Paper Mario.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this the one where it kind of starts to fall off?
Not so much fall off, just more take a different track of things where the concept of it being paper and whatnot is kind of pushed off to the side a bit. But this is also one of the ones that, oh boy, the story gets dark.
Oh, okay. Okay. I keep meaning to play the Paper Mario games, but I haven't yet, really.
Like at the very most, with the first one is good, the re-release and the Thousand Year Door one, either on GameCube or Switch when they re-released it, is always a good one. They re-released it for a reason, and Super Paper Mario is interesting enough to try, but do not, I repeat, do not go with any of the Paper Marios that are on the 3DS or the one that was on the Wii U. They were thought ideas and other sorts of stuff, but they are not great when it comes to gameplay. Like at the
Okay.
very most, there's the one that was also released on the Switch, but it's also a step away from what the series was originally.
April 22nd, if you're in North America and you had a Nintendo DS, you could pick up Pokemon Diamond and or Pearl.
Yes, when we got back into Pokemon when we were in high school.
Well, I didn't, because... Actually, I do think I picked up one of these. I think I bought
Wouldn't be
Diamond at one point.
surprised if it's the case of supposed newness and other particular things that will be somewhat good for Pokemon, but then also the case of these are the slowest games. They're so goddamn slow.
April 23rd, if you had a PS2, you pick up a game called Made Man. Are you familiar with this?
Not even in the slightest.
Okay, So I've never played it, but I ended up with a copy. I think I bought like a lot of PS2 games on eBay at some point,
Uh,
and this was included in it, and I have been trying to sell this game for 10 years with no success.
in the typical sort of sense, or just like people now supposedly know about it, and it's like, I ain't touching that with a 20-foot pole.
It didn't get like terrible reviews, but for some reason nobody wants this one game.
Hmm.
It's super funny to me.
Radios.
Um oh god. There's not a ton really. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's about it for video games.
Now, just quickly double
Oh,
checking the list with
yeah.
things that you saw throughout the last month, seeing if there was either things passed over that I somewhat recognized or not. But no, it's the case of things were released, but it's just kind of typical sort of things or stuff that's not super of importance. Like, understandable, but also the case of, do we really need to talk about this?
Yeah, there's a lot of like, oh yeah, there was another like Prince of Persia spin-off on the PSP. Who cares?
Yeah.
Or like the Fast and the Furious got a PSP game. I don't care.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us move on to the episode. Alrighty, so Logan invites Veronica to Parker's birthday party. A woman comes into the Mars Investigations office and says that her restaurant was vandalized. Veronica stakes up the restaurant before the owner's husband comes out and berates her to leave. However, while they are speaking, a group of troublemakers appear and shoot paintballs at Veronica and the married couple. The husband acquiesces to allow Veronica to investigate both incidents further. Keith, as acting sheriff, is called in to look into a case involving a 19-year-old who was hit while returning home drunk from a bar using an obviously fake ID. Veronica tracks down the family of the car that was used in the paintball incident and finds out that it was under the control of a group of teenagers. Keith's underlings state that the bars are actually good at keeping out minors. Veronica reviews security cameras at the restaurant and tracks a person down that happens to be Jewish, with whom the restaurant owner's daughter has been having an affair. An employee named Nazar has taken explicit photos of the two, and Amira's father will disown her if her father finds out. Veronica goes to a photo developing store and retrieves the photos, but one is stuck in the printer and Nasir gets it. Amira's father shows up at her door and angrily berates her and fires Veronica, although she says that her real employer is his wife. Keith catches Wallace and Piz out for a night on the town in a bar, discovering that they have high-quality fake IDs from Veronica, leading Keith to reprimand her. Veronica discovers the true vandal after tracking a piece of bait. The vandal's name is Derek, who vandalized the restaurant after seeing Nasir distributing a piece of anti-American propaganda at a mall. Both owners want to meet with Derek before pressing charges. Keith sends Piz and Wallace with clearly fake IDs into a bar as a test of his subordinates. Piz has a picture of, who was it who was on Piz's ID? I can't remember. But Wallace got Biggie Smalls. It might have been Keith Richards who was on Piz's, but I love the idea of Wallace having Biggie Smalls on his ID. That's very funny. He finds that the deputy does not check closely and resents Keith as well. Due to this fact, Keith fires the people who disobeyed his orders. The two restaurant owners meet with Derek, who does not react very well. However, they decide not to turn in Derek. The husband the husband/father of Amira has an awakening about Amira as well and forgives her, turning in Nasir to the police for an expired visa. At Parker's party, Mac connects with Max. That's not going to get confusing at all. And Veronica shows mild jealousy when Piz shows her his new fling. Logan gets Parker a romantic cake in order to escape from an awkward suitor whom Logan introduces her to. Veronica asks Piz to pretend to be her boyfriend. Afterwards, Wallace informs her that Piz does have a crush on her. Veronica realizes that she has not realized this because of her preoccupation with her breakup with Logan. She talks to Piz on the deck of the party and suddenly and he suddenly kisses her. Piz retreats to the elevator, but Veronica appears and kisses him back. The elevator opens, revealing Logan. So, what do we think of this episode, Mr. David?
I can think at the very most it was kind of a typical sort of episode to have it around the time for typical content and other sorts of stuff working with, and the story for it was well enough. Honestly, with case of it being a little bit better understandable on both sides for case in comparison to other ones I've seen in the past. So on that hand, it's good with that. And then, oh god, just the end of the episode, like things being somewhat resolved, but also just all the awkwardness. And gosh darn it, why did she have to get the piece of cake that had Logan's face on it?
Yeah, that seemed intentional.
Like, in most cases, it's just like, wow, wow, how much of a slap of the face does she really need? But nevertheless, it somewhat worked, but yeah, just also the case of, oh, right, this is also slight teen drama with all the particular stuff it's going through. So, yeah, we're going into that boat for it.
Yes. So, yeah, I thought this was a pretty good little episode. And next week, we will be discussing debasement tapes. In this episode, Piz is going to get a chance to interview one of the members of his favorite band. Oh boy. A washed-up rock star named Desmond Fellows. However, Desmond's backing tapes that he needs for the show the next night disappear, and Veronica is going to be called in to find them. Meanwhile, Logan enlists Mac's help in creating a presentation for his business class. In addition, Keith learns that Vinnie Van Lowe is challenging him in the upcoming sheriff election.
Boy.
Yes, so there's going to be a bunch of stuff happening, and Paul Rudd is going to make a guest appearance as a rock star, so that should be fun.
Oh, there you go. In comparison to the couple things that he's kind of been doing nowadays.
Yes, so that will be next week, and until then, I've been Paul.
And I've been Dave.